Live, this is the Microsoft 365 Development Bi-Weekly Community Call. Today is February 17th, 2022, midway through February. Where is the time going? I'm your host, David Warren with Catapult and member of the PNP team. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to discuss what the latest on the PNP Framework Core SDK is, some updates on PowerShell, yoteams-MGT, or otherwise known as Microsoft Graph Toolkit, team samples, Power Platform, so much amazing stuff. And then we're going to take a look at a picture time together. We're going to take a look at everybody because we all love to see the interaction of the community. And then our rock stars of the day, Tim, Thomas, and Kevin. They're going to talk about Introduction to Adaptive Card Studio VS Code Extension, solving reCaptcha with Power Automate Desktop, and bringing your own data to Microsoft Search. So some really amazing stuff to look at today and see the demos. Let's begin with how you can interact and participate in the community. We would absolutely love to see you demo a solution or technical pattern, just like our rock stars of the day are today. You can create a sample if you'd like and contribute it to GitHub. And then we also like to provide feedback, whether it be positive or constructive. We absolutely want to hear where you feel like improvements can be made or you feel like things could be done a little differently to embrace and help the community. You can fill out that form at the bottom or in your chat if you'd like to request a demo spot. We are here to help you, and we've got a number of initiatives in place to do that. So if you've never done it before and it may be your first presentation, don't let that stop you. Reach out, and we absolutely would love to help you. There are a number of resources that you're going to see available to you today via the Microsoft 365 platform community. The first are developer videos and community videos. You can absolutely access all of the videos, such as this very video, at the URLs that you see there on the screen. There is a ton of open source initiatives to support you through things like Office Dev, Microsoft Graph, PNP SharePoint, things like CLI for Microsoft 365, PnPjs, a number of toolings, React controls that you're going to see more about, and you can access those. And then we have a sample galleries. These galleries are fantastic because they're accelerator kits or they're learning opportunities. They're contributed by everyone in the community, such as amazing people like yourself. And so we would absolutely love for you to use them and contribute back. There are a number of URLs here, though, but you do not need to keep track of all of them. aka.ms/m365pnp is the one-stop shop for you to be able to access all of this amazing community goodness. One of the newest initiatives that we have is our script samples repo. Now, this is a repo that's got a number of scripts. You can see 193 scripts that span a wide spectrum of technologies: Graph, CLI for Microsoft 365, PNP PowerShell, SBO management tooling, Power Apps, Azure CLI, so much more. Amazing stuff. We've got really cool new scenarios by Albert, or otherwise known as Appy, Brian McCullough. We've also got updates to existing scenarios from Reshmi, Chandani, Paul, and Leon. So thank you all for your contributions. Again, this is a really great opportunity that provides a wide spectrum of samples that you can not only use, but that you can contribute back to. Now, perhaps you want to get more involved, but you're a little nervous about how to do that. Well, the Sharing is Caring program is a program that is here to provide you assistance, and not just assistance by way of go read or watch a video. No, assistance that's hands-on in safe space sessions, not recorded, collaborative opportunities to meet with members of the PNP team, MVPs in the community, and other collaborators that are like-minded and want to work with you in contributing and creating amazing samples and using the resources. But we know that there are hurdles involved with that. Sometimes, like, I've never contributed to GitHub, or I'd like to present, but I've never actually done that in front of a studio audience, such as today. Well, we're here to help you. These are, again, live hands-on guidance sessions. And of course, we've got the always popular AMAs. Next week is the Ask Me Anything for PNP React Controls with Joel Rodriguez and Alex Terentiev. And then we've got coming up March 1st MGT, and we just scheduled in celebration of PNPJS 3.0 an AMA with Patrick and Julie. So March 15th is the date for that. So much opportunity. These are great opportunities to collaborate with the maintainers for these initiatives. Ask anything, ask how you can help, ask for new features, and we've seen a lot of that happen by way of these sessions. So don't hesitate to sign up for any one of them, aka.ms/sharing is caring. Once you have contributed back to the community, we want to celebrate all the amazing work that you're doing. The PNP Recognition program is here to do just that. It's powered by Credly. What's Credly, you say? Yes, Credly is the same certification badging system that's done by Microsoft. So when you get those Microsoft certification badges and they go onto your official LinkedIn profile, the recognition program for the Microsoft 365 platform community does the exact same thing. We are covering the cost. There's no cost to you. We do need you to opt in. We've got a lot of opportunities now with new badges for PNP blogging, for script samples like you saw on the other slide. We just started the community content, independent publishers, so many amazing badges to celebrate all the work you're doing. So please don't hesitate to sign up for it. You don't need to sign up each year, only once. So if you already signed up in 2021, you are good to go. But definitely take advantage. We want to celebrate all the amazing work that you're doing. And thank you again for all that. The Microsoft 365 platform call is coming up on the 22nd of February. Now, this is a call that is coming directly from the mothership. All of the presenters are Microsoft employees. So this is a great opportunity to learn just at the forefront of all the technology that is coming out and is available to you. The lineup for Tuesday is Rabib on PowerShell snippets, Ika Boss on learning from the community. It's a new weekly initiative, so we're excited to see about that. And then the ongoing mini series with Sebastian Levert on customizing MGT components in your solution. This has been a great series to see how you can go start to finish on a variety of components within MGT and put them to use within your solutions because they accelerate all the amazing stuff that is available within the Microsoft 365 tenancy. So sign up, get the download recurrent invite, aka.ms/m365-dev-call. Up next is PNP.NET Libraries, and for that, we'll hand the mic over to Bert.
Thank you, David. What happened in the .NET world for PNP? The downloads are kind of still rising as expected. I think there's no surprise there. Some things to call out, especially on the PNP Core SDK side, is event hub concept. So imagine that your application gets throttled. Today, it's sometimes quite hard to understand, like, hey, I'm throttled. Because the application will wait and retry. You have that. That's built in PNP. That's great. But maybe you want to know more. You want to kind of back off and do less loading of requests, do less threading, whatever. So PNP Core SDK now has like an event hub concept where you can just subscribe and you can be notified like, hey, there's throttling happening, and you will get information about why you're throttled, and then you can take the appropriate action. There's a couple of updates in PNP Core SDK as well around a new scanning framework that actually I'm working on. So the scanning framework will replace the monetization scanner for the folks that are familiar with that. But it will be open source. It will be a nice sample if you have to do like bulk operations across Microsoft 365, because it uses threading and all the things to kind of parallelize work, and it will handle throttling as well. That's why the event hub is there also. And then final thing to call out is the work that Marcin did on the Viva Connections API work. So you will be able to take a Viva Connections dashboard, put cards on it, remove cards from it, etc. The PR is there. I just didn't have time to go through it and merge it, but that's definitely planned for probably tomorrow or next week. On the PowerShell side, I put actually the link to the changelog because the team did so many changes. There's a ton of additions, adds, even some removes and some duplications. So really a lot of those changes that I can't call out one by one here because it would take us too much time. But overall, PowerShell is just usage is skyrocketing. It still keeps on growing after all those years. It keeps on growing. So meaning if you're not using it yet, which would be a surprise, but then if not, go check it out. Thanks, Todd. PowerShell. Yes, indeed. All right. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Bert. Next up is yoteams, and I believe Victor is on the call today.
I'm here. So I introduced a new metric here, DAGNS, daily active gulp ng serve commands invoked. So we started measuring more detail on how the generator is being used, and it's continuously increasing. We had the all-time record in January, and by looking at the data right now, I think we're going to beat that quite significantly in February. I hope that at least. But there's essentially no big changes right now. We have a next version which has the new Teams library, Teams JavaScript library SDK version 2. That's also in preview, but we're not going to release that until that has gone GA. But if you want to try that out and try out Teams apps in Office.com or Outlook on desktop and those kind of things, that's something you can look at. The only major release we had was for the build-core component with a couple of additions, specifically a PR from Paul Schaefline, which added more configurations for the gulp inject that's used behind the scenes if you have more advanced scenarios. We're also working together with Seb to ensure that upcoming versions are more streamlined and work much easier with MGT. So that's it for me, I think. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Victor. Next up is actually MGT. Seb is out today, so I will cover this slide. What's new? Well, 2.3.2 is released, so take a look at that URL and update your packages. There's a refreshed playground. And then what is next? Well, aligning all toolkit components to Fluent UI web components. We've got the official Teams FX provider coming soon, a generic MGT picker component, and more. There's always an opportunity to get involved here with the issues. In fact, look for those help wanted and good first issues inside of the issue list within MGT, and definitely get involved. And again, if you're wondering a little bit more about MGT, sign up and join absolutely those platform calls on Tuesday. There's a whole series around it that Seb has been doing. So excellent work. Next up, Microsoft Teams samples with Bob German.
Hey, everybody. Well, we don't actually have new samples from the community, but we do have a whole bunch of bot samples now in the samples gallery, so that's definitely worth announcing. It turns out that the bot framework team has a whole mess of bot samples. They're all bare bones samples that just show you how to do one thing and one thing only, which is sometimes just what you need so you don't get confused trying to figure out what part of a huge sample it is that you need to do something. It turns out that they have actually built these same 10 samples here in all these different languages. So we have the very first Python and very first Java samples in the gallery now, as well as C#, JavaScript, and TypeScript. So happy to announce it. And, you know, they're in both the universal sample gallery and the Teams specific sample gallery now for your consumption. So looking forward to more samples from the community, and back to you, Dave.
Awesome. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, amazing stuff with all the community contributions here. So if you think that you're not sure how to do it, reach out. We absolutely can help you. Next up is Power Platform samples, and we'll hand it over to April Dunham.
Thank you, David. So first of all, thank you everyone for all the Power Platform samples. So excited to every week that we're here see new samples in the repo. This week we have a new Power Apps and a new Power Automate sample. So from Norm Young for Power Automate has a great sample showing how you can send adaptive card reminders directly from Microsoft List. So he's using Power Automate to have a for selected item in Microsoft List action that'll go and send an adaptive card in Teams. So it shows how to do some OData filtering inside of Power Automate and working with adaptive cards. So really great sample there. And another great sample from Alex Clark. He has a SharePoint event registration Power App. Lots of great concepts shown here and how to embed that application inside of SharePoint as well. And he has a whole process for automatically importing that. So really great samples for having a event system built in Power Apps, built to mimic what you can see and how it interacts in SharePoint, so that you can not only use it in Power Apps, but embed it in SharePoint to kind of look like one of the out-of-the-box web parts of SharePoint. So thanks again for the samples, really great samples this week, and looking forward to more so we have in store for you next week. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thanks, April. And again, if you're interested in submitting to this repo, I know there are so many amazing Power Platform samples out there. Our Sharing is Caring session on first-time contributions for Power Platform is up and running. And we just had one on Monday. It went great. We've got a new date coming up here soon, so be on the lookout for that by the end of today and get signed up. We'd love to help you. All right, the time has come. Optional picture time for everyone. So we'll hand it over to Vesa.
Yep, I'm here, and I will drag and drop the picture in here. Let's wait a while to fill in the 50 seats, and hopefully we'll get a bit more clarity on the picture. I guess it's having, I can see a dog. Is it a cat?
You're able to change your scene now. Yeah, looks like you're.
Yeah, so that worked, but unfortunately the stream feed is not super clear, but oh, it's getting better. Okay, so Okay, that's a scary thing in the row number 4. So
Master Chief.
whatever that is. Yes, Master Chief is in the house. Let's wait one more 20 seconds. I think we're filling in to 50. I will not enable my camera to fill in any seats. I think that's it. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining, and we'll crap a key animation out of this. I'm already recording the screen. Thank you for being part of the community and being part of this course as well. Thanks, everybody. Awesome. Brilliant. And good to have Master Chief on the house as well. Thanks for that. So David, let's go back to you.
Awesome, thank you. And we'll move over to our amazing demo presenters for today. We'll start with Tim on Introduction to Adaptive Card Studio VS Code Extension. Tim, take it away.
Okay, so I'm not using a full presentation because it's just one slide really. I hope you can all see my slide.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, my name is Tim Kahnbach, MVP for Developer Technologies, working on and with a lot of things related to adaptive cards since probably 2 years, roughly. I'm also the creator of MadeWithCards.io, just a community page which has various adaptive card samples, links to blogs, just have a look at it. The extension we are talking about is also linked on the page. So without further ado, when you install the extension to VS Code, you get a few nice features when you're working with adaptive cards. First of all, I'm just a regular repository I'm working on, some Vue.js application, doesn't really matter. In there, I have a couple of adaptive cards. So what's new when you have the extension installed, you have that adaptive cards button here. You go there and it shows you automatically all the adaptive cards you have in your in the open workspace. It does that, but it's just scanning all JSON files you have in your currently open workspace and just tries to identify if that JSON file is an adaptive card or not. And if it's an adaptive card, it gets listed here. It also allows you to download and directly use all the samples we have on the MadeWithCards.io website to use it as a starting point, pretty much. So you can just browse the samples we have. Let's take just this as an example. You put in your own name, whatever it is. And as you can see, zoomed, it's pretty, there it is. As you can see, it just shows you the adaptive card on the right side. It shows you the code for the adaptive card. And it also gives you the sample data that's used. And whatever you do, if you change the data around, for example, it automatically updates the card. If you change the template itself, it also automatically updates the card. So while working on the JSON code in VS Code, you can directly see the adaptive card. You can see the updates. You can play with the card. Yeah, and just make it a lot easier to work with adaptive cards from a developer perspective, pretty much, because the JSON is probably more towards developers than pure designers. We also added a few nice convenient features, let's call them that. If you're starting with a brand new card, you can just use the varied snippets we have in there. You can start with a snippet for a card example, or you can say, no, I just want to start with a blank adaptive card, so it gives you the rough boilerplate you need to have for an adaptive card, or just card elements as snippets to make it easier. Text block, or like a container, whatever. So it makes it really easy to work with adaptive cards as such. Let's take that one. What you can also do, like just use the text box. The other thing you can do is one thing we are working on right now that's not yet working is you can send a card directly to Teams, to yourself to test it. What is working is the option to send a card to Outlook. I have it open somewhere there. And when you send a card to Outlook, you just get it sent as it is in Outlook. Outlook renders the card, and you also get the JSON layout you use, JSON template you use for the card, and you get the sample data you used. And then you have the card rendered in Outlook. And we are currently doing the same for Teams. That's not there yet, but it's coming pretty soon. So basically, what the extension does is it allows you to work with adaptive cards a lot faster, a lot easier. If you have cards like in a Git repository or whatever, you can even work on them properly together. That's pretty much it. I hope it wasn't too fast. If you have any questions, like I guess I still have like a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Would you mind just bringing up a web page? I put the link in the chat, but you may have it handy there. That shows just the Adaptive Card Studio in the Visual Studio marketplace,
Oh, yeah.
just so we can get it in the picture and everybody kind of see what they know they're looking for.
So it's on the Made with Cards page. So yeah, if you haven't seen that one, that's always worth a visit. We have a ton of sample cards here. That's the same you have in Visual Studio Code. We also have the link here to the Visual Studio Code itself, to the extension. And if you go there, there's that's the Adaptive Card Studio. That's the name of it. It also says it's made with cards.io, and that's the official page on the Visual Studio Code extensions. The one thing you might see somewhere, it's named beta at the end. That's like we were not able to change that. It was initially in beta. We were hoping to change that, so it is the original version, even if it says beta here. It's a full version. So it's no longer in beta or anything.
All right, very, very cool. Yeah, this is really neat, especially how you can send it to Outlook and you can send it to Teams. Excellent work there.
The one thing maybe I can get some feedback on that. I don't know. The one thing with Teams is right now we are working on a bot, because technically you right now to send a card you need a bot. We were hoping to be able to use the App Studio extension in Teams. We're still talking to Microsoft about that, or I'm still talking to Microsoft about that, if we can use it, if I can use it. But by the looks of it, I would need to have a new bot, and people would have to install the bot to use it. And the only question I have, if people have any concerns with doing that. So pretty much, if you want to send it to Teams, you might need a bot to use it.
All right. Well, very, very cool extension, Tim. Excellent. Thank you for sharing and publishing that out as well. So Nice demo. Thank you. All right. Next up, Thomas on solving reCaptcha with Power Automate Desktop. The floor is yours.
So first, I'll just share my small slide.
It looks like it's loading. Got it.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm quite nervous because I see that there are like over nearly 200 people on the call. So I hope as well that the demo is going to launch and run. So anyways, my name is Tomasz Posztek from Warsaw, Poland. I'm Business Applications MVP. And I'm basically working with processes, workflows for years already. And recently, customer asked me to create another automation, this time using RPA. And over time, I learned that the website that we were meant to automate was equipped with reCaptcha, with Google reCaptcha, because of the security reasons. And basically, well, you are, as myself, internet user, so possibly you faced reCaptcha in various places. Basically, this is a technology that is being used to secure every place that is used to input data from user to the website that you're browsing, like signing in, posting comments, posting a reply in a forum, or other cases where you need to put some data into the form and send it to the server. Basically, the goal is to avoid bots from sending hundreds of requests at a second, so or just to limit bots from acting as users and writing data on behalf of users, like some fake comments on their blog posts and so on. And nevertheless, the goal is that when you open a site, it basically displays like a small checkbox. You have to click it. And if you do not sign in often to the same website from the same machine, then possibly you will never see that challenge thing. So challenge is what you will see in a moment, this screen where you have to pick or select images that are corresponding or containing content that that challenge is asking for, like palm trees, cars, bikes, whatever. So for us users, I mean people, it's not really complicated. You just select like 3-4 tiles and that's it. For bots, it's, well, quite impossible, because first, this is in iframe, and secondly, this is just like one image with an overlay on it. So I was thinking about maybe using some cognitive services and image recognition to be able to somehow split these tiles which are containing a specific keyword or specific item. But I failed so far. I wasn't able to make it. So I thought about a different solution that I'm going to present to you right now. The point is that RPA, so the robotic process automation, in this case is running in unattended mode. So somewhere on a virtual machine in Azure where there is no employee, no person who is supervising that run. And so if that CAPTCHA challenge is displayed, the bot is simply helpless and cannot proceed. So if that was an attended mode, then simply bot could display a dialog window asking user, hey, can you just come over here and resolve this CAPTCHA and then press OK to continue. However, when this is running in unattended mode, then, well, obviously there is no person on site. So the idea is that the bot is making a print screen, sending a request to a user to their email using actionable messages. So the technology that Tim mentioned just moments ago, but this time it is being sent to your Outlook, to the employee's Outlook, not to Teams or other places. And then user is able directly from Outlook to select these tiles which contain that specific item. So let me just show you how it works. Fingers crossed it's going to work, because I'm just experiencing some issues with my computer for a longer while. Anyways, I just need to press run. And this demo is simply going to open one of those hundreds of websites which does contain CAPTCHA to be resolved. And yeah, so now it's running. Hopefully in a moment, a website will pop up with the contents, and the bot is going to be then able to resolve it. Right, so there is a website. Now bot should select this checkbox, right? So you can see right now this challenge has popped up. And what is going to happen right now is that the bot is calling an endpoint built in Cloudflow, which is actually constructing, composing, and sending me an email with this actionable message. So this is an email. It contains a screenshot that shows me that specific challenge, and asking me to select these tiles and a layout which corresponds to, well, this one image. So here I need to select bicycle. I would select as well these two tiles because they cover the whole image. Right? So right now I have selected, the response has been sent back to the server, and the bot is now able to resolve them. However, because I was experimenting a couple of times, therefore it's not only to, I mean, the challenge is now getting more complex. So bot has to send another request to myself with another screenshot asking again for help, because the challenge is not yet over. So there is a new email with a new request. So again, I have to select now the bicycle. It's somehow like containing these four tiles. And again, hit to resolve. All right. So hopefully this time it will be enough, right? So now the bot was able to actually resolve the challenge and post the comment successfully. The goal, or maybe the challenge behind the simple fact it's just challenging for the bot, is the fact that user has only like 3 minutes to resolve this challenge. So again, the more attempts are being made to resolve that challenge, the more complex it's getting. So for example, it doesn't contain the image or the object in the image that is being requested for, or that it asks 2 or 3 times to resolve another challenges, or that simply it like replaces one images with others, and again asking you to again select the same object in that challenge. And therefore, this solution I was trying to build has to really be proactive and be able to resolve or react to every of these scenarios. And so the idea here was that it's simply trying to like up to 5 times to ask user to help. If user is not able to, for example, answer to an email in these 3 attempts, then the time simply expires. So 5 attempts sent in around like 20 seconds, or it was 30 seconds. No, sorry, 20 seconds. Yeah. Or even 10 seconds, whatever, was something that was like fulfilling this time span expected, this time window expected to react and to resolve the challenge. And so if this is not possible, then at the end, bot is simply sending a message to the user, okay, so you failed to resolve the challenge through email. So right now you need to sign into this virtual machine and resolve the challenge yourself that way. Right. So one thing, because I don't know if I have enough time to really go into details like how it was built.
Yeah, we've got some extra time, Thomas, if you'd like to show that.
Right. So let me show you. Maybe I don't know which piece of the solution is most interesting for you. I guess that adaptive cards. So I won't get into details about the bot. The bot's behavior is quite simple. It's simply scrapping the website. the reCaptcha challenge is displayed as an iframe, so the bot simply needs to find coordinates of the x and y's, width and heights of that reCaptcha image, and then once user selects specific checkboxes in adaptive cart, then the bot is simply calculating what is the x and y for these specific tiles and simply clicking there. So that's quite simple. And the cloud solution is actually built out of like two workflows. So the first one is the one that is used to request user to resolve the CAPTCHA, and the second one is used to handle that response from the adaptive card. Right. So this is still using the old technology, not the one that the team mentioned. So it's not using a bot underneath; it's just using the Outlook developer provider ID. So the thing that you can actually do it yourself once you navigate to Outlook connectors. I mean, that URL that I'm just typing. So it's outlook.office.com/connectors/ OAM publish. So here you can register a new provider, and with registering this new provider, you need to specify as well what is the scope of that submission. So at any time you can use your test submission. So this will allow you to send adaptive cards or actionable messages to your inbox, or you can use organization, as I did in my case. So I'm able to send these adaptive cards to anyone within the tenant, or you can as well request for the global one, but the global one requires Microsoft approval, not only your Exchange admin. So anyways, this is this Cloudflow, which is being called from RPA. It's using HTTP request to call it. Then it's waiting like 5 times until the screenshot is uploaded to OneDrive and synced. Then it's registering as well information in Dataverse, because every reCAPTCHA challenge has its own record in Dataverse, so that those two Cloudflows are able to track what is this request for. So this one is writing the request and sending them details about that request through actionable message to the other flow. And then depending on what was the layout, so 3 or 4 on 4, it is simply building a different adaptive card layout or the content. So one contains 3 checkboxes, 3 on 3, the other one 4 on 4. And here is this originator. So that's the provider ID that you have to obtain to be able to send actionable messages to Outlook. So without this originator, you won't be able to send adaptive card to Outlook. And lastly, before it sends the adaptive card, it concatenates or wraps that content, that JSON in script type application adaptive card plus JSON, and sends that email. And then actually the workflow, this main workflow is waiting up to 90 seconds for the response from the user. So if user fails to respond in 90 seconds, then simply the workflow is going to send a response to, where was it? Here. It's going to send the response to the RPA that, sorry, user failed to respond in 90 seconds. So RPA isn't going to make another attempt. Otherwise, it's going to send a correct response that this information has been obtained. So it simply sends the data, like which checkboxes were selected. And it knows which checkboxes were selected because, as said, it is checking that Dataverse row it has created in the first step. That is being updated by the second flow that handles the response from this adaptive card in Outlook, and is simply writing here like which checkboxes have been selected for that specific case. So that is the whole solution, and so far it's working quite well. So users are able to resolve the CAPTCHA without actually need to go and sign into the remote machine. It doesn't happen every day, but at least once a week I see that there is an email sent with a CAPTCHA challenge. So that anyone from business has to help bot to proceed. So that's basically it.
Awesome, Thomas. That's really, really cool. I think everybody loathes having to remember those credentials for logging into a remote box or something like that and go take care of something. So that's really, really cool the way you've set that up. Thank you very much for sharing and going into depth.
I think I shouldn't be sharing that because Google might be really angry that there is a way to crack their CAPTCHA.
Well, you're still doing it right. You're just doing it in a more efficient or effective way. So excellent. Very good. Very good. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kevin McDonnell is up next on bringing in your own data to Microsoft Search. So Kevin, if you want to start sharing.
Yep, I'll bring that up. So I could try and keep the slides to a minimum. What I'm going to talk about is how you can bring your own data into Microsoft Search. You've probably seen a new search within there. It's in office.com, it's in SharePoint, it's now in Teams as well, which is fantastic. So it's about having that one capability, that one bit of search across everything. And it's not just about the search, it's some of the AI capabilities it brings with that. It's trying to bring all those different things into one place. And some of you have come from the SharePoint world, maybe thinking, yep, this is all about SharePoint search and probably using fast, but it's actually been built on the Bing technology originally. So it's kind of got all your different client applications pulling that information through, and it's got your content all underneath there. It's pulling things from across all the areas that the graph looks at within this. You've got your SharePoint, your Teams chat, all in one place that you can bring things out. But the interesting bit I'm talking about today is that bringing your external data sources. So this could be your third-party systems. If you're using Salesforce, if you're using your own on-premise ones, you can connect it up to database, whether that's in Azure or even on-premise. You can connect it to the same things with there. And there's a few fairly simple REST commands in the graph that can help configure that, but then you trigger and in your own way of putting that into there. So it's not about just having that nightly feed of stuff coming through. It can also be about pulling that data as soon as it happens from there, which is what makes it really useful to people as well. Some of these are animated. There are 3 ways you can get those graph connectors through the standard ways, and this is going non-Devi at the moment, but there's some nice wizards for some Microsoft built ones, and there's things like that. You can connect to external websites. You can, I think Salesforce and a lot of the Atlassian ones come in with that as well. If one of the standard ones isn't available, there's a whole load of partner ecosystem ones that have been built out. So if you've got open text, if you've got all sorts of things like that, you can go in. But many of you devs or connected with devs and you want to know about how you can do it yourself, you don't need to go and spend money with partners. I'm saying this stupidly as someone who isn't a partner and would happily, if you do want to talk, come and talk about that, but this isn't a sales pitch today, I promise. This is about how you get your own data into there. So you can use a Microsoft Graph to register your connector. In terms of that, the overall process is the first thing you need to do is you need to register what your connector is. So you define your kind of bucket of information that's going to be in there. So one of the standard ones would be to do a website. I'm going to talk about a couple today. One is Twitter, and another is actually Trello, which when I was putting this together the other night, I thought, let's see how easy it would be to bring in something else. And had been looking at the Trello API for something else. So I thought, yeah, this should work. Once you've got that, then you can create your connecting graph and you can start registering those index items. So pushing that data into graph, registering it that you want to use in search. The next one is creating up your cards. So all that great stuff that Tim's doing about the adaptive cards, you can use fair bit of the elements of those to actually see how that appears when you get those search results back, whether you're in office.com, you're in SharePoint. Hopefully soon more of these will come into Teams, but not quite there yet. And you can render how those results come back quite nicely. And then finally, it's about how you add those items to the index. So it's probably the wrong text there. It's not adding the indexes, it's adding items into that index as well. In terms of setting up those connector, getting into the techie fun and games here, you've got to set up an app registration in Azure AD because you've got to get your authentication up for the Microsoft Graph on there. You've got to make sure you've granted permissions with that app registration so that external items have read write. You then give your external connection a new unique ID, name and description. So just those 3 elements there. And then really the interesting bit is how you create that schema. So that schema is the definition of your search index. So for example, in Twitter, you're going to have who the tweeter is. You're going to have what time that tweet went out. You've got the tweet contents. You can even pull in there the number of retweets. You could put in the number of likes that come in there. So you've got to build out your kind of object model to define what's going to be captured within the index as well. In terms of how that schema looks, you can see I've got an example here of maybe a ticket. So you could be pulling from your ITIL service management system. So whether you're using ServiceNow or if you've got an on-premise custom built one, you can pull the data from that. So you define your different properties there, such as the ticket title. You define whether you want to be able to search on that text, whether you can retrieve the information. You can add some additional labels, and you can sort of say the types. You can have numbers, dates, etc., etc. And what you want to be returned when you get those. Quite why you put things in there and not make it retrievable, I haven't entirely worked out. But if that is the kind of thing you want to do, fantastic. Knock yourself out. Once you, I mentioned you want to put things into the index, so creating those items that come through. Again, you've got another JSON schema from there. I'm going to come back to the ACL in a minute, but it's about putting those properties. So those properties you've defined in the schema, such as the title, priority assignee, you need to add what you're going to fill out for those. And then down the bottom, you're thinking more about the content itself. So if you imagine search, usually you're looking at SharePoint pages or you're looking at like a document. The content's going to be that document itself. When it comes to putting those things, what is the big block that you actually want to get put within there that it's going to crawl an index through? And the search will pick up the details within that index as well. The ACL up the top is the access control list. So the great things about your external stuff is you're not necessarily just looking at everyone can see this. You can put your own permissions on that. So you think search within SharePoint is all heavily permissioned. You're going to be putting that thing through. You can do exactly the same with your content. So if we come back to that idea of having your service management tickets in there, it may be that you have certain tickets that people can't see, or maybe you can only see your own tickets. You can use the access control list to define by groups. You can explicitly grant users. You can see we're getting the Azure AD IDs from there. Or you can set up groups and you can deny people. So you could stop people from seeing things as well. So you've got those two different ways to set up the details there. Now, a lot of the stuff I've talked about, you're probably thinking, oh, it's going to be a whole load of code and different things like that. I'm going to have to set up a massive infrastructure to either run these nightly indexes, or I'm going to have something that's going to monitor that. But with Azure, you've got really easy ways of doing that. And the way I've got set up, and I've got a few samples of these, which I'll share in a minute, is using logic apps. Because the nice thing there is, for things like Twitter, for things like Trello, and so many other connectors, you've already got those connectors. So sorting out your authentication, sorting out connecting with those APIs has actually been done for you. Obviously, if you've got your own custom one, then you may want to do with something else. But again, with logic apps, if you've got OAuth, it's done a lot of the hard work and you can connect back with that. So I think it's a fantastic way for working with these Microsoft search services. Assuming you're not indexing every microsecond, then the cost of those is going to be relatively low and you've got the connectors there. So assuming you haven't got a massive volume, then you've got a really easy, effective way of running these. So what I've created with these logic apps is a setup logic app, and that will register the thing into the connection. It'll set up the defined schema, and that only really needs to be run once, or certainly once per environment that you put in there. Then I've got a search one that you can run on a regular basis. So this could be set up on a timer, but I've just set up as a web one so I can trigger when I want. I kind of use it as a test bed more than anything else. And this goes out and retrieves like the last 99 cards, or last 99 tweets for a particular thing, or the last number of cards from Trello. You can do it when you want. But really the magic comes with the trigger, where you can get a trigger as soon as something's created, assuming it's got that action in there within logic apps. You can get that item into the index straight away. But I said I wasn't going to do too much around PowerPoint, so let's go into some kind of code, low code today. As you can see, I've got a resource group here. I've got my, I'm going to show the Trello one first. I've got the Trello one here, and I've got my 3 different logic apps set up. Final one there is just the API connection that gets set up when you put in place your Trello connection. If I go and have a look and edit that, you can see I've just got when an HTTP request is received. So it's just got the details there. And here I've got the 4 bits that are going to set up that connection. So I'm first going to check the Microsoft Graph. I'm not going to scroll down too much because it has got my keys in there. But you can see I'm just doing a fairly simple get that's going to retrieve in external connections. I'm using the beta in this case, although actually it's out of beta now. Probably could update that one. But here is the name of the connection I've got. So it's just going to try and get it. And if that fails, then it goes, great, I need to create one. So it will do the same, pretty much the same one, except now it's going to do a post. And in that post, you can see the body is pretty simple. It's just the ID that you want with it, the name that you're going to give it that people will see, and that description. So very quick and easy to set it up. I then do a similar thing for the schema. I just check and see, I now know that connections exist because either it existed already or I've just created it. So now I'll go and see if the schema exists. If it doesn't, then I go and create it. And in terms of that schema, you can see I've created up one for Trello here. So I've given it a card name. I've said that's searchable. I don't want to refine on that, but I can query on it. I've got on there the card ID that I've captured. Probably not really needed because you'll notice that you'll notice later when I post and add an item that I use that card ID as the unique identifier for each one because I know each card will be unique as an entry. I've got things like the date, last activity. So I mentioned it's not just strings. You can put dates in there. You can put the card description. And I've picked up a couple of the things here. With Trello, you can put, you're probably more used to Planner. You can have a checklist of items. So where you have those kind of additional checklists, you can do the same here. So all I've done is how many exist and how many of those are completed. So that's neatly defined my schema. I'm now good to go. If I look at search, let's edit that as well. Even simpler, and this is a nice thing, if you've used Power Automate, Logic Apps is pretty close with that. You've got these blocks. So in this case, I'm just doing HTTP request, or I can click on Run Trigger and do it manually. What it's going to do is look at a specific board that I've got set up in Trello. And I've just looked, I think I did the last 5 days. Yeah, just looked at the last 5 days of content within that board. And it's going to return each of those cards. And then for each of those cards, I'm just going to make an HTTP call. I'm going to do a put because it may exist there. I want to overwrite any that already exist on there. And it's going to do a post for each of those based on that card ID that's come from Trello. In this case, I've got my access control list. I'm being a bit lazy. I don't think any of this is important. So I'm just pulling back and making this available for everyone. But this is where I'd start to pull in maybe specific users that want to get in there. If like with Trello and you haven't got Azure AD hooked up with that, this is where you might want to put an additional step where you could probably get the emails of the people who have permission to it, go and do a lookup using the graph to get a list of those people, build up your JSON here and have a more complex access control list. So you could do those same things. This is just a lazy demo, I'm afraid. So I've just got the everyone within there. I've taken the description from the card, and there you can see the properties. I've got that schema I've set up with the items complete, and from there I've just taken the check items. Again, I'm not having to do any mucking around with JSON and different elements there because it's all been created for me by the Logic app. So I can just make use of those Logic app items. Of course, if you've got your custom APIs, nothing stops you doing that HTTP query against your custom API, even connecting to a database and then pulling out those different items as you want to do in there. But this will then write that external item into the search card itself. Let's just trigger that off. It should run hopefully quickly. Always the nervous bit of doing a live demo. Let's see where that goes through. In fact, let me just show you a previous one that did work. Come on, boy, you can do it. Let's get it over the line. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, I'll come back to that in one sec, just to show you what that looks like. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to jump and show you some of the configuration you need to do in the admin center. So within your admin center itself, for the Microsoft 365, gosh, everything's running really quickly just when I want it to. You've got search and intelligence under there, so you can configure your search. And this is where you can kind of configure those connectors themselves. Come on, internet, you can do it. I'll come back to this briefly. I'll leave that running and loading. So you can see here, I've got that request. I've got my boards back. I've got my output from there. I can see my Trello boards. I can see which cards have come back. It's all sorts of things I could do, like looking at the number of votes, the number of members that have voted for it. I could pull in there. I've just kept it simple. And here you can see my top 10 that have come back. I've got that access control list. And I can see, in fact, there's a nice example that there was 2. Scroll wheel's getting a bit excited. There was 2 on that checklist, but only one's been checked, so I can sort of show that on the results itself. If I come back here now, I've got the data sources. So you can see, oh, look, I've been doing some testing with that. You can see I've got my Dynamics connector. Here's, I've actually got my website, so I've used that standard connector that you can get from there. But here's my Trello connector that I've got set up. You'll see the Dynamics one that I haven't fully set up. It actually tells me that I need to create a vertical and result type before that's actually usable. If I bring up the Connect one and scroll down, you can see that it's indexed 12 items. It's not showing on the bottom, but usually it says when you've last retrieved something as well. But here I can see that I've got 12 items there, so fantastic. I've got stuff in the index. I know I've got things in my quota, so it's putting those details there. In terms of the customization, you can have different result types. So if you wanted within your Trello board, you might bring back the list of boards as well as a list of the cards. So you can create multiple result types off the same one that people will search through. And then really the power is in these verticals that define how you want to actually display it. I'm getting this the wrong way around. What I mean is the results types display how you want to display it. So you could have, when you got those results back, maybe some of them that have a checklist, you want to display those in a different way you can. And there is your adaptive card that you can set up that give you details on how the results can go. What's lovely about that is there's a specific layout designer for these that is designed for Microsoft Search. So there's a slight difference in some of the things you can and can't do with that, but you can see that a lot of the designs are built out that you can very quickly and easily get one of those. Let's go with a nice pretty image one, and you can see it's defined the different blocks within there, and all you need to do is define your properties that have come back from your schema. So that would be like card name within that would be the card link would define there. Once I complete that and click on create layout, when I finished out all those properties, then it gives you the option to copy that JSON that you then just paste back into this JSON designer. Or if you're hardcore, look, I'm sure many of you are, you can just go straight on and copy your results into there and add it directly on there. So what does that look like? You can see here that now you can bring your results come up straight away, and here's the website one. So these are actually linking to my blog. Once I add a vertical, I can see the tweets there. I don't think I have anything for that, but if I look for Collab Talk, you can see what happens if you don't configure that adaptive card very well and don't connect it up. So in this case, I haven't connected up some of those things. I have a feeling the format's changed recently because the ones I copied and pasted, and the same for Trello, haven't quite come out as nicely as I'd hoped. But here you can see I've added that Trello to search. I've got that modified date. I didn't actually add any text to any of these, which was a little bit silly. But here you can see I've got the checklist blah of 5. What I know I've done there, and I showed this because I don't like to show everything too polished. What I put there was forget to put how many had actually been checked. So I typed that wrongly. But if I click on that, it's going to take me over into Trello and take me straight into that board item, assuming I'd logged in, which I forgot to do beforehand. But you can see you can link directly into those. I'm not going to put my password in just in case anyone is watching. But you can bring those search items, and you can add kind of direct links to the things you want as well. So you can make these look a bit pretty. You could add the Trello logo within your search results and really bring it through on there. I saw Todd, you said, can you put hot links to tweets? Yes. So the links there, you could see I can put, that's a blog post. I've got the ones to my blog post, the same with the Trello items. It could be the same with the tweets as well from that one. So pulling through. I'm just going to have a quick look through some of the questions before I go back to a couple of things on the slide. So yeah, as you said, with the ACL, if it's not using AAD, then you'd need to build that as well. Can you make hot links in the tweets within the text of the tweet itself? That is a good question, actually. I don't know. I'd have to check. I'll try and get back to you, Todd, on that one. I think you can, because I'm pretty sure previously when I had the kind of one I had was pulling stuff from CollabTalk. There we go. There's an example. It's come back nicely now. So there you can see it's registered. It's found it as a link and picked that up on there. What it doesn't do is have the hashtags, but you could do something within there. So we'll automatically recognize links. You could do something when you create that item to kind of convert hashtags into links as well and provide that link, which is the bit I haven't quite gone through itself. Gonna flip back to the slides. One second, we got the demo. Just a quick one on licensing. Only got a minute left. If you've got E5, fantastic. For each license you've got, you can index up to 500 licenses. So 1,000 licenses, you've got 500,000 items in the index. If you don't have an E5, then you will need to purchase, as it says there, 750 quid per instance. Sorry, UK prices there. There is a link within there. If you just look up Microsoft Search licensing, it will tell you kind of your local prices is within there that you put up. So quite a hefty jump if you don't have E5s. One other thing to notice is as the time of writing, there is a maximum of 7 million items that you can have, and that's for your whole index within your Microsoft Search environment. So one thing, if you've got a massive amount, is do be aware of that. I believe you can speak to Microsoft. There are some options there, but that is the default link to there. If you want to see more, I've got some links around this. I've got a blog post about how I set that initial one up with Logic Apps. I've got some Microsoft Search samples. So if you are interested in going Microsoft Search, I've got some kind of CSVs that you can input to get going on there. And that sample, I haven't created the Trello one up. I'm going to do that hopefully in the next week or so to put those examples. But I have got that Twitter one. I've got some ARM templates so you can just deploy or you can just copy each of the different elements for the Logic Apps and give it a go yourself. There's a dynamics one in there as well. Would love to hear from others if there's ideas of the sort of thing you'd like to do, especially if there's things like Salesforce is another one I'm planning to do because I can get a free instance for developers to look at that. But yeah, that's about it. If you've got any questions, please do throw at me anything on Twitter at @KevMcDonk or throw it in the search and I'll take a look at that as well. But otherwise, David, back to you.
Kevin, awesome. Very, very cool stuff. Thank you for going a little deeper on that as well, since we had the time. Very, very great. All right. Well, thank you to all of our presenters, Tim, Thomas, and Kevin. Excellent job. Let's take a look at just wrapping things up. The recording will be available in 24 hours on the Microsoft 365 Community YouTube channel. You might see the link in the chat to the videos ready. Just ignore that because it's a tendency thing, but you can always subscribe at that aka.ms/m365pnp/videos to get the update and alert when it's available, and always within 24 hours. Follow us on Twitter at Microsoft 365 Dev or at M365PNP. The next general dev call is 2 weeks from today, March 3rd at 7 a.m. Already getting into March. That's crazy. The next Viva Connections and SharePoint Framework call is next week, February 24th. Same bat time, same bat channel. Get the invite, aka.ms/M365PNP. We have a number of other community calls available to you as well. As previously mentioned, at the platform call, which is weekly on Tuesdays, aka.ms/M365-dev-call, and a host of other community calls as well, Adaptive Cards, Microsoft Identity Platform, Office add-ins, and Power Apps. And then, of course, the two Microsoft 365 or M365 platform community calls, such as this, PNP, bi-weekly today and next week, SharePoint Framework. You can get all of the invites at aka.ms/M365PNP. Thank you all for being collaborative and doing an awesome job. Thank you for all the excellent conversation in the chat. And of course, our wonderful presenters, Tim, Thomas, and Kevin. Have a great weekend, everybody.